What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the Awakened Soul Podcast. I'm your host, CEO Haize, and right off the top, if you want to follow me, make sure you do so at CEO Haize. That's CEO Haize. But more importantly, if you want to follow the podcast, make sure you're doing that at Awakened Soul Pod or at the Awakened Soul Pod, just depending on what platform you're looking for us at. But nonetheless, this week's episode, we have Miss Tanya from Talking with Tanya, who actually does like motivation. She's like, I know a lot of people and probably in my podcast circle may have not heard of her, but she's actually been doing this. God, I think she said for like 13, 14 years. Started off with blogging, went into podcasting, and just kind of followed the evolution of where creativity took her. So I'm really excited to bring you guys this conversation. I think most of you are going to definitely enjoy it. Definitely enjoy just the ray of sunshine that she is. We have a great conversation, but that is the only guest on this week's episode. But yeah, we're going to go ahead. You know what we do. We're going to get into our intro music. On the other side of that, we're going to get into my dark and twisted, crazy ass mind. I'll see you guys there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the In the Mind of Haize segment. And this week, my mind is really, what it's on, I'm going to try not to talk about because I said I was going to try to steer away from a whole lot of COVID-19 conversation just because, that content's already out here. I know as most of us were kind of inundated with it, we're watching the news, not only just out of the fact of wanting to know what's going on, but also just, being nervous or being concerned over what's going on. And so because of that, I'm not going to talk about it directly. But, we are today actually just came down that we're going to be under this social distancing order for another 30 days at least, which kind of makes sense if you do pay attention to how everything's trending. And, in that, it's going to force us to continue to adjust our way of living. And so with that, to kind of flip it and be more positive. And I know I touched briefly on this last week, and I mentioned Skillshare, and I mentioned how that can be like, it's really like an online school. Like a lot of the tutorials there are great. They're done by professionals that have been doing stuff in their field for a long time, and some of them are actually teachers as well. I'm currently using Skillshare to help my directing skills because, as many of you know, I'm trying to get more into the short film as well as like just videography and cinematography in general, photography as well on that side of things. And so ultimately, I just want to talk about them. And this is not sponsored by them or anything. I don't have an offer code to give you or nothing like that. My ad is at the very top of the show. We get Disney Plus out the way, so I'm not even going to harp on that too much. But I think I definitely want to just talk about like the benefits of things like Skillshare, even if you just go to the University of YouTube, like a lot of us do to start off and learn stuff. But I know a lot of people who are like either already in podcasting want to try to know or learn more about the audio editing side of it. If they use an outside audio editor, if they don't do much editing on their show, and Skillshare is a perfect place for that. You can learn Premiere Pro. You can learn Premiere Pro's for video. That's what my mind's on because that's always what I deal with is video all the time. But Adobe Audition, even for Audacity, which is a free software that many of you use. And I know a lot of podcasters now use Anchor, and I know Anchor does make a lot of things difficult. It makes a lot of things easier, and that's fine. I used to really be against Anchor until I realized as far as like what it does do for the new creatives. While I think eventually most people should probably move over to a more dedicated audio editing software eventually, especially if they take this thing very seriously. But it's a great way to get your foot in the door. But if you're on something like Anchor and you want to try to move and craft your audio a different way, have more control over it, and learn more things, Skillshare is a great place to go if you want to learn any audio editing software. And that's just not Adobe Audition or Audacity, as I mentioned before. That's GarageBand. That's what are some of the other ones people use? There's a lot of them, and I'm pretty sure you can find a Skillshare for any of it there. And like I said, they're really structured classes. Some of them have assignments and class assignments where you have to like post it. Like for me, I'm like with the photo editing and the cinematography and stuff. There's like stuff that I have to go out and film and submit. And so, I just want to mention that for anyone who's kind of looking for something to do outside of just Netflix, outside of just reading and everything. You're looking to try to build a skill or build something that you think you may be into. There's even like, I know I have like the professional camera and stuff, but there's even like classes on there to show you how to get professional type shots out of your smartphone, or even a cinematic video out of your smartphone. So, you know, that's a great place. I just wanted to mention it because it's something that I've been doing, and something that I think that can really help a lot of people, especially in this downtime where we have really probably more time than ever to learn a new skill, if you can take your mind off some of the craziness that's going on. But, you know, to get back into to switch topics, to kind of switch gears a little bit, something that I've, you know, and I'll talk about, if you guys are listening to the Film Frequency as well, you may have heard some of this conversation already, but it's, and I know I said I'm going to steer away from COVID-19 conversation, and it's really difficult. The End of My Haize segment has always been the segment where I don't like to craft my podcast around like current topics or issues. Like, I want my content usually be evergreen, but the End of My Haize segment is really where I usually talk about whatever's going on in the world or on my mind at that time, and this is really it. And what I do want to say before we go, for those that aren't taking this seriously, you know, I'm not here to judge or to be on a high horse or anything like that. But I think when you look at the way that this virus is spreading, and, you know, I know a lot of people that look at it like, well, you know, if you're concerned, just stay at home. Don't worry about what other people are doing. But the fact of the matter is that people are asymptomatic with this, and you may not be showing symptoms and have it. And it's not just about your well-being. You got to try to take the other people's well-being, and the fact that the spread of this virus, the person that you, if you do, may not have a single symptom, may get sick and get over it. But then you got to look at the other person that person has contact with. And I know we're in difficult times, and, you know, some people are against the stay home thing because they look at it like you're forcing them to do something. But at the end of the day, for this to pass as quickly as we needed and wanted to, and for life to try to get back to normal, we do have to social distance, unfortunately. And, you know, I think, like, I shout out to Mary Almonte, who's one of my co-hosts on the Breaks Radio. You know, me and her were talking. I'm not going to get too far into it because it's not my story, but, you know, it's affecting a lot of people around us, and I know it's kind of difficult for me not to talk about it, but I'm going to leave it at that. All I will say is that do what you can to distance as much as possible, to stay at home, wash your hands, stay safe, keep the people around you safe, and all that good stuff. And we're going to continue to try to push on. We're going to make it through this. And ultimately, like, we are a resilient people, and we're going to make it through this eventually. And whatever that new normal may be after all this is going to take some adjusting in a little while to get back to normal on. But it is what it is. One last thing on my mind that I want to talk about, and we'll definitely talk about this in more detail on the Breaks Radio, like I mentioned, is the video and the song Will by Joyner Lucas. First of all, the song is dope. The song is fucking amazing. But what he did with the video on top of that, and paying tribute and going through, like he did like the Old Spice commercial thing where like it was him going through and changing outfits, and it wasn't a one take. So it wasn't that at all, but just the creativity. And I think, you know, in the times that we're in, we love to see artists that we know. And, you know, Joyner Lucas is one of my favorite artists right now. So I think I pay attention to him more than like the general public do, as it's hard for me to step back and know like what Joyner Lucas's mainstream appeal is and is not, because I feel like I've been literally following his career for like the last 4 or 5 years. And, you know, hats off to that man. But the video, Will Smith responding to it, and those are the kind of stories that we like to hear at this time. You know, as much as we're getting hit over the head with the virus and the pandemic and everything going on, people losing their jobs, it's nice to see something positive. And so I kind of wanted to end it on that, because that is something that I've been a song that I've been bumping for a lot in the video. I don't even watch music videos anymore. I saw the video before I heard the songs. Well, I was doing it all at the same time, and that was just, it really stood out to me, something different, and it felt like something different. But that's it on my mind. We will have a bonus episode this week where it will be me and the First Lady. So there's no Cookie Chronicles on this week's episode, but we will be dropping something exclusive with us both here either tomorrow after you're hearing this or a couple days after you're hearing this. And that's going to be amazing. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a break. You're going to hear from another Breaks Media podcast and some music. On the other side of that is going to be the conversation with me and Tanya from Talking with Tanya. And I can't wait to bring you guys this one. So I'll see you on the other side of that. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.